All right, this is, well, we got to do our usual opening.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Brent Leary,
I'm Paul Greenberg,
and even in Vegas, we are the CRM Playaz.
except not in the way most people think of players here.
Yeah, well, we're definitely not the kind of players that you typically see in
Let's put it
Las
this way,
Vegas.
we're not, our rooms are not, well, I guess they are comped, actually, in a manner of speaking, but for different reasons.
But anyway, we are glad to be here. We are here for PegaWorld 2018, and it's already gotten off to a really good start.
Yeah.
I like the robotic DJ part.
Yeah, that guy was pretty cool, although you're out of work now.
Yeah, I know when they start making robotic DJs.
You and Ray have a different
Yeah.
life ahead.
But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about PegaWorld, of course, and maybe about robotic DJs. But we're also glad to have Jeff Nicholson join us right here. He heads up the effort to run the marketing product here at Pega. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, great to be here. So yeah, I oversee CRM product marketing, and it's just an exciting event for us here. Great to have you.
Would you actually say, like, this has actually been a pretty boring event for me? If somebody else would you ever say something?
I would never say that.
You would be a really bad marketer if you did. Now I think of it. Well, I'm glad to hear it. No, it actually has been really good so far. You think so too, huh?
I like the opening. I mean, yeah, of course, I'm a big fan of Citizen Kane. And the way Alan used the clip from Citizen Kane to basically just blockchain instead of Rosebud, that was a really cool way to. And also I had a picture of this, of him on stage, and on the background there's a big slide of Get Real.
Yeah.
And that pretty well sums up Alan's approach to all of these things,
Life in
what's
general.
going on, right? He tells it like it is.
And I think someone needs to be honest, and that's, thankfully, a lot of the roles that you folks have. And we just see so much nonsense thrown around from vendors in the space, from even some people covering the space, that it's hard as someone that is buying this technology, implementing this technology, to know what's real. And you can't make change unless you're doing something with real technology.
So let me ask you this. So why would somebody believe you're doing that rather than Salesforce or SAP or whoever?
Well, I wouldn't say why would they believe us. I would encourage them to talk to our customers that are here. That's what PegaWorld is frankly all about. And most of the sessions, really all, are delivered directly by our customers.
Okay, but they're already your customers.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, you're out, you got prospects out there,
Mm-hmm.
read your stuff, are interested in X, Y, Z, but they're also right now prospects. They're thinking of SAP, they're thinking of BPM Online maybe, they're thinking of, well, probably not the latter just because you different scales, but they're thinking of someone else. So I'm saying, well, I'm them, and I'm thinking, well, why are you any more trustworthy than those people?
Well, and I would answer it the exact same way. We actually have a lot of prospects here at PegaWorld. And we find one of the most effective things for us and for them is, kind of like I was saying, you already heard from the Pega people. Talk to the people that have deployed this. How long did it take to get up and running? Did it really scale like we said it would?
Mm-hmm.
Was it intuitive? Do you feel this is really giving you that foundation for the future that you hoped it would? And just ask your clients directly, rather our clients directly. And that to me is what PegaWorld is about. It's engaging with your peers and getting it straight.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why you at Pega, period? Why did you come here?
Well, I think there's no
When?
other. When? About 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
And you and I have covered this space for over a decade.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of comings and goings. And it goes back to this whole real comment that you said. Really, when I got a chance to see all that Pega had to offer in the space of CRM specifically, blown away. Absolutely blown away. And it's the kind of inverse problem that really every other vendor has. Everyone says they do everything, but when you peel back the covers, there's nothing there. Here, it's just an embarrassment of riches, I would say, with customers that will sing praises to the rooftops. And now what it was is a matter of how do we amplify that, and how do we actually really get in front of thought leadership, and how do we make sure that the world knows about all that it really is. And so that's.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about where you came from, your history?
Sure. It's been quite a big transformation in the space. I got into the CRM space, of course, back in the days of portrait software. And it was the very genesis of the space of real-time decisioning and real-time interaction management with the earliest of early adopters. And what was very interesting in my career is, at that time, with portrait software, our direct competitor was Cordiant, okay, who of course was acquired by Pega Systems. And we had just tremendous engagements back at that time. And really together, these two businesses really formed what is now an entirely established space. And it's exciting to see the growth of that space and evolution of that space. And now we see a lot of vendors all of a sudden using next best action and all this language that we invented a decade ago, really together. And it's interesting to see it kind of come full circle.
One of the things that caught my attention during the keynote was Karam and his talk about how AI and robotics automation are meeting here at Pega at the email level, and talk about what that impact could be for companies who are looking to leverage both the power of robotics automation and AI.
Well, it's very interesting to me in a number of ways. We're seeing a lot of excitement around conversational interfaces, whether it's Alexa, whether you're having a conversation through typing chat. Email is also it's not synchronous, it's asynchronous, but it is conversational in nature. But it's all very unstructured mechanism. And it's easy for businesses to think that they have to rush out, which they do, and think about chatbot strategies and all the like, and that's where a lot of the attention is going. But if they turn and look down, they can't forget about the fact that their customers are still emailing them in high volume. And it's a lot less exciting channel, but it's the one that customers are used to using. And the way they're dealing with this is just back in like a Stone Age process. It's going into someone's inbox, they're on vacation, maybe it doesn't get replied to right away. Who's responsible for this? I don't know. And so you end up with not just errors, you end up with frustrated customers that don't know where they are in that process, and do they even receive it? Do they open it? And so when you use advances that are finally here, that can actually break down all that friction, really across channels, including the older ones, this is what the real opportunity is. It's to look at the moment that particular email is received. It's opened, it's interpreted, it's understood, and in many cases, case is opened immediately. A confirmation sent back to that customer saying, we've heard you, and we've already started the process. Here's the information if you want to see where it stands. Everything is now frictionless. And it's a win-win for businesses and the customer, which is what I like about that so much.
All right, this is getting a little serious.
I was thinking.
So I like this up. Now, Don Shorman said something that really captured my attention.
He says a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's good about saying a lot.
Yeah.
But he said, you mentioned Alexa, and kind of one of my interests right now.
Okay.
He said that his kids actually have a better interaction relationship with Alexa than with him or his wife. Now, is that the same in your household? Is Alexa kind of getting between you and your kids or things like that?
So I wouldn't go that far. I find Alexa likes to all of a sudden think I'm talking to her when I'm not. She wakes up and, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Because I'm not talking to you, you shouldn't understand.
Be quiet.
But I will say, it does understand my kids, and they do have a very quick learning curve. And so one of the things I implemented, we were just talking about smart homes. Of course, I have kids in the area of 9, 12, and 14, and of course they want to use video games all day if you'd let them. So one of the things I did with my smart home is I actually put a smart switch on the Xbox. And I can kill that thing on a moment's notice.
Wow.
And I do. And it only goes on during certain hours on certain days. And it's old school kind of retrofitting, but that's exactly what I did. And one of the things I did quickly early on is integrated that with Alexa, my smart home. Until I realized that my kids had heard me tell Alexa, turn off the Xbox switch. And now they figured out they can actually go and say, Alexa, turn on the Xbox. And so I had to quickly come up with a new name for that device, which I did, and they haven't cracked that code yet. But
You're not gonna share it with us right now, bro.
no,
I
they'd
trademarked
find
it.
that. Yeah.
All right, so now I have another question though. So company talks about Get Real. You're a Patriots fan, right?
Oh, God.
Yes.
All right, so how can a company that talks about
They-
Get
they
Real?
really do have
a-
five.
No, it's
Yeah.
not that. It's how
real.
can a
It's real.
Patriots fan say Get Real and like Bill Belichick? How can a real person getting real actually like that guy?
He
Because
really,
if you really get real, he's a horrible person.
no, he really did win 5 Super Bowls.
So, the Yankees won 27 pennants
Mhm.
and World Series, 43 pennants. So,
And you have to give them credit.
well, I'm a Yankees
They all
fan.
had
I'm a
the-
Yankees fan, but there are Yankee guys I didn't like.
The Rams have won one. I'm just gonna stay out
No,
of
they
this one.
almost won.
Yeah, they could have. Anyway, I want to follow up. What lessons have you learned from your kids' interaction with Alexa that may carry over to when you actually are going to have to start interacting and using stuff for your customers who are going to start eventually getting voice right? So what kind of things have you picked up that you may have to, pull over and say, this is actually some stuff that probably is going to be working well with the corporate side?
Well, it has to come down to utility.
All right.
Right now, it's a lot of party tricks that we're seeing out there. And we haven't lived a skill as well. There's no magic in building a skill.
Right.
How are you gonna use it? To transform either way, the way a worker or an employee gets their job done in a better, faster, or less friction or cost-effective way that they can't do today. Or vice versa, to an actual customer of yours. And I think we're in the era of party tricks. We have to get into the era of practical application. And that's
How
when,
quickly are we gonna get to that era, do you think? Is it a way off, or is it coming faster than things might appear?
I would argue it has to happen in the next 1 to 2 years, or it's gonna be a flash in the pan. I don't think it will be. And the reason for that is the only thing holding it back are humans coming up with those ideas. And finally putting some serious thought to this on, okay, how do I make it of value, of use, and do something that they can't otherwise do, that I'm gonna wanna come back and back and back again. And so it's people like you and the people on the podcast, and they have to come up with those use cases. And until that really happens, it's gonna be in this kind of middle ground.
I think Brent and I have about, 15,000 use cases that we've talked about in the last month and a half, although probably 12,000 are not fit for public TV.
Pay TV.
Yeah, that's okay, cable. So, all right, so let's go to Pega's kind of historic message for a minute.
Mhm.
So I've watched the message evolve from, I really got interested in Pega was probably 2010, maybe, something like that. And, back then it was pretty hardcore BPM
Mhm.
message, and
Yeah.
it was doing well. And then, what year was the Accordion acquisition? 2000?
I have to go forensically to.
Yeah, I
find
can't
the-
remember, but it was around, somewhere in that, probably a little before that, actually. But, and then I watched it evolve from there
Mhm.
to CRM, once Accordion did its magic and Steve Krause came in and did his stuff. And then I watched it go from CRM to customer experience, which was at the last PegaWorld. You had this fantastic speech done by one of your customers, best one I've ever heard of the PegaWorld bar none, from Lloyd's.
Yeah.
I can't think of her name now though, but she was great. And it was on customer experience, which was, most people just weren't, at the time though, most people were not thinking about Pega that way, so it sounded like a peculiar, but you handled it really well message. And now it's customer engagement at the most fundamental, which I completely agree with. I mean, I just finished a 335-page book on the subject. And so...
And we hope to see that book.
eventually,
Yes.
someday we'll get on to a CRM Playaz episode, why it's not coming out in August. Anyway, so But the net result was, if I take a look at this sequence,
Yeah.
that's a very hard corporate narrative to make that transition without somewhere along the way losing trust. But you guys did it, which is one of the reasons even though I haven't come till this year to a PegaWorld, mostly due to conflicts and other reasons. But I've never lost faith, so to speak, in the company because I saw the transition work exceptionally well. So my question to you is, though, there's product narratives, and then you've got the corporate narrative, the big picture corporate narrative, which is the one I'm talking about, is how you guys, let's say, as much of the innards as you're able to talk about, how you even think about that. Because that's not, again, you made a transition that I see a lot of companies fail at doing regularly, making from something that's basically mechanical, in the way people think, to something highly emotional in the way they think. And and you didn't lose any credibility as a company along the way. You didn't lose any. And again, I can see the sequence, but I don't know how you got to the thought. I don't know the thought process. So I'm curious as to how that worked.
Sure. Well, the credit goes to Alan Trefler and his great vision for seeing this opportunity. And a lot of it goes to this aspect of realness, certainly there as well. I think that transition that you've seen has been very authentic and methodical and process-driven, as you would imagine
Right.
it would be.
Right.
And when you look at the evolution, the platform is, well, it's a platform that can do, frankly, almost anything. You can shape it to orchestrate almost anything. And if you look at the customer base as the business did at the time, you realize, well, there's a lot of people kind of trying to orchestrate this kind of customer service thing. And and also this sales automation function and offers happening in the system, and we get this accordion. What if we took the best practices and created them so that they just kind of come out of the box, and maybe even some industry-specific things? And it really did a great service to our customers, because now they don't have to do the heavy lifting. It is purpose-built in a utility that had been wanted. And the opportunity really has paid off tremendously for our customers and the business. And when you think about it, it makes complete sense. And it did. If you think that a lot of the business process management, that's for getting rid of the friction of the back office processes.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening in customer engagement and CRM?
Yeah.
It's all about getting rid of the friction
Yeah.
for customers.
Yep, you're right.
Whether it's an employee engagement, a digital engagement, or self-service, otherwise, how do we get rid of the friction? How do we focus on one customer at a time and somehow orchestrate this thing called customer journeys across all of our disjointed systems and processes that are going nowhere, frankly. You're still going to have them, pretty much all of them next year, even if you want to get rid of them. So how do I succeed despite my infrastructure and focus on the customer and get that orchestration done? And there's nothing, frankly, better suited to solving that problem.
Okay, so here's the thought.
Yeah.
The other thing you did, which I think you on the money about, is you put a lot of effort into the idea of CRM becoming, well, operationalizing, by which to me is, look, I mean, again, the fundamental theorem of my book, well, less than the fundamental theorem, one of the things I talk about in the book is CRM so customer engagement is a much larger market. Well, it's not a market yet. It's more of a protoplasm, but it really is kind of protoplasmic at the moment. So there's a lot of I actually identified 29 different technologies categories that would probably be a complete matrix for customer engagement. And there's no company on the planet who can do all 29. You literally have to pick where you're going to play in it and then play. So you could call something customer engagement, but so can a gamification company, so can a customer lifecycle management company. Everyone at CRM certainly can, but the reality is there's maybe 3 or 4 that are core things. One of them is operational business ops, which is going to be CRM. Is transactional kind of ops, which is e-commerce, and that's a core now. And customer journeys are a core. Customer journey orchestration management are a core, and I forget I have a couple of those. Anyway, but you guys actually saw it that way. And I, first time I've heard a company specify it exactly that way, which is CRM and operationalizing CRM. Which is another conclusion that I find really interesting. I mean, I can see that one easily from you guys because you always did that anyway. I mean, you always did that, but now you're seeing it in the bigger picture, which really struck me from a visionary standpoint. Look, I mean, honestly, as visionary as you are, that's not the public image of you yet, right? Now, it's gotten more of that recently, but you have that long-standing kind of Pega's BPM thing, which was a good thing. It's just, you have to shake it off, you know, at a certain point. You're not that anymore, right? And yes, you might have, but, you know, okay, so here's my question to you. On the other hand, if you look at your technology on the process management side, the pure of that side, it's really good. Like, it's really good. It's the best in the industry, probably, at an enterprise level, for sure. How do you shake off the image and then keep faith in the actual tech?
So I would suggest that I don't think we need to shake off an image so much as it is to really express that this is how it's being applied to me. This is what Pega is. And really the understanding that great experiences don't happen by accident. All right? And when you talk about this application of a process and orchestration to solving this challenge, it allows businesses to own it. Don't just talk about wishful thinking of, you know, we see people put businesses put posters on the wall, you walk down the hallway, it says, put the customer in the center of our business, but they don't change anything. Okay? Doesn't matter how many posters you put up, what are you doing differently? How do you orchestrate that to happen? And this is the fundamental change that's happening. And so what makes this event at PegaWorld so exciting are the actual customers that are sharing how they've made that transformation happen. And they didn't just talk about it, they didn't just complain, they didn't say, well, but we have so much old infrastructure, it's too hard. No, they said, actually, we can do that. They knocked it together in 30 days, stood it up, tried it on one channel, added to the next, to the next, to the next. And what Pega does uniquely is it allows them to have these strategies and stand them up quickly, but then they can reuse them anywhere. So you create an experience, a logic, a way of thinking about a customer, their context. We're going to have a session later on that really drills into the topic of context and what that really is. And once you know that, how would you go and figure out the right thing to do for that customer? Once you orchestrate that, you just simply apply it to any channel you have. It's channelless. And this is what the new world is about. This is the breakthrough. Yeah?
Channelless, good word. That was, for many years, I've been, you know, unfortunately you wouldn't win this one because someone said it before you, but
yeah.
I actually hate the word omnichannel, even though it's the word that we use for, you know, getting past the multi-channel old concept.
Yep.
But it's not really accurate.
I agree with you.
Right.
You don't need to be on every channel. It's impossible.
No, not at all. And not only that, people don't think in terms of the channels they communicate on. They don't do that, right? So,
No.
So channel is, the guy who actually suggested, used to be the CMO of SAP Hybris and now is the president of EMEA at Marketo, which is Jamie Anderson. He
Okay.
suggested channels. You're the second person to suggest it, but it's really a good term. I'm starting to actually think of using it now because I really do think it's the right term. Because look, none of us communicate thinking about, I'm going to talk on this particular way of talking. You know, we just do, right? We're thinking about what we might say, but we're not thinking about how we're going to, you know, what channel we're going to say it on. You figure out how you're going to talk and you do. And it might be one that, like if I send an email, I could send an email that says, hey, hey, so-and-so, such and such a company, I need you to give me your address via text. Now, the normal response of a company is to reply and send it via email, which is really wrong, because I didn't ask them for that. I sent you an email asking for it from text. And the reason I asked you for text is I probably had a reason, because I wanted to give it to my best friend who needed it. And that's the way I talked to her or him, right? So, but most companies don't go as far as to read the email actual from the channel standpoint, but because we're channelists, they're not. And so they tend to just react to the channel that they receive, right? And it's a serious error, let's say that, and it happens a lot. Do you think we should do C-level SmackDown?
I don't think we have enough time at this point, but I want to just get a quick, Pega Infinity was just
Yeah.
announcement came out. What are the takeaways that you want folks to know about it?
Well, this really reflects the next step change. And what we're seeing is the two topics that we've been talking about, this digital process automation capabilities, the evolution of the BPM space, and now tremendous advances like robotic automation. That's the back end of the friction. And this area of customer engagement, CRM, and all the different advances that are happening there with AI, where it really is one. And we've changed absolutely everything about that. The robotics is seamless with the AI, and everything about it is just, it's actually one piece of code, one application. I would say there's a challenge to find many vendors in the space that can say that. And we've actually changed even absolutely everything around how it's purchased and bought. So as an example, when you buy a Pega CRM application, it includes unlimited robotics for that application.
Yeah, I know, that's amazing.
What's the hardest part of a CRM application? Integrating it, installing it, getting it gone. All right, you have to go and evaluate robotics vendors and spin all that up, and then there's all the licensing for that, and then it doesn't actually work with the CRM. It works next to it. This is inherent, embedded inside of it, and it comes out of the box.
Amazing.
But there's a lot more to Infinity. It's a tremendous release, next best moment, not just next best action. It's helping you see through kind of time and space and understand, here's the right thing to do, but don't do it now.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Now
Wait
that's
10 days. That will be the next best moment, where that'll be the right message for that context of that individual, because we know that that's their cadence.
Speaking as an
Yeah.
analyst here,
Yeah.
I'd make a point of that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well,
And-
we'll make a note of that.
I would also maybe sign up Doctor Who to be
Yeah.
a spokesperson for the next best time moment
That's
in time and space, you
You
know.
have the
And if
DJ
you-
working out of a phone booth next time.
Well, and if you miss the moment, you get in the
You get the
car,
time,
yeah,
the TARDIS.
go to 80 miles an hour and you go back and
That's
fix it.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, and on that geeky note, I think we better let Jeff get back to it, because there is a conference still going on.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, you are lucky that Brent put the kibosh on the C-level SmackDown. 'Cause if he hadn't, you would have lost.
I can
want
hold
you
my
to
own.
know that.
Well, I put the kibosh
No,
mainly
you were
because I
right.
didn't bring my brass knuckles with me, so, yeah, I'm not ready for full
I think I
preparedness.
have an extra set in my.
But on that note, thanks again for taking time. You know, we know you're a busy guy around here, but we do appreciate it. It's good to, learn a lot more. And I'm really, maybe next year will be Pega Infinity Wars.
Right.
Maybe we get the Marvel Comics folks involved.
That's right.
I gotta write that down.
That would be actually hysterical.
Well, he said earlier today, Pega Power.
Pega Power.
Yeah.
Except I trademarked it immediately, and I will sell it to you for $25 million.
Okay. All right, well, on that note, thanks again.
It was awesome having you, sir.
And awesome to have you. We're excited you're here, and hope to see you again next year.
And we'll do another
Absolutely.
episode with you next year, too.
That's it.
Okay, we are.